Oh, hello, are we live? We're just getting things set up here. And I'm live, yeah, better turn on the gimbal then, bear with me. All right, excellent. So, who do we have? Just scrolling back through the chat. So, hello, Catherine. Hello, Susan. Hello, Anne. And Tish, hello. And yeah, I'm very well, thanks. Yeah, I've had a great day touring the Isle of Wight. So I can tell you all about that. And Laurel, hello. Yes. So yeah, I hope everyone's well, and if anyone's been to the Isle of Wight, do let me know. It's always fun to compare notes. Remember learning about the Isle of Wight on the TV series, is that Victoria? Oh, I don't know that series. And Diane in Florida, hello. Yeah, welcome to the Isle of Wight here in just off the south coast of England. Oh, the Folly water bus. Oh yeah, over here. Oh, Catherine, you've been. Oh, okay. For a jolly to the folly, or the breeze with ease. Yeah, which part of the Isle of Wight was it? Because I've explored 4 towns today, so almost half of the island in terms of towns anyway. Whilst we're waiting for the appointed start time, I can show the surroundings. The appointed start time being 6:30 according to well, this clock here, incidentally. I went to the castles and all around, spent the week there. Oh, nice. Well, I went to Yarmouth today, but the castle wasn't open because I was there at about 9 in the morning. And then I went past, I think it was Carisbrooke Castle on the way. Wait, so the TV series was on ITV and on PBS, was it? Oh, I see. Sounds like an interesting series. Lethargy, hello. And welcome to the Isle of Wight. And it's been a bit of an up and down day in terms of the weather. There was one right shower earlier and then it got really nice, and then it's a nice sort of calm evening so far, not to put a jinx on it or anything. Oh, Susan, you've been in London for a few days. Oh, okay. Rosie Carlisle, hello. Could it be time for the umbrella later? Who knows? Oh, she's visited Eltham Palace. Ah, I see. Nice. Yeah, there's a lot of the Isle of Wight I'll have to visit on a return trip at some point for sure. But yeah, it's been a great introduction today to the 4 towns that I've visited. I'll elaborate on that in a bit. Laura Squirrel. Oh, great name. Hello. Anyway, it is 6:30, which is the allotted start time. So I shall flip the camera and say hello to all you. Hello, Dawn, by the way. So yeah, so for those of you who don't know, I do live tours, and my name is Alex, a.k.a. 4K Explorer. And the idea behind the live tours is that I get to do them in person as opposed to the pre-recorded ones in 4K. And it gives me a chance to show you around in real time, and then of course you can interact with me in real time via the chat on the right hand side, and you're more than welcome to do so. And just a couple of things. First things first, I should get up to speed on some thank yous, because there have been some very generous contributions to my recent streams. So I've got a few names to call out for in terms of thanks. So thank you to Elizabeth, Anne, Deirdre, Natalie, Rose, Tracy, Satchem, Roy, Cheryl, Erin, David, Catherine, Marlene and Diane. And I hope that's everyone. in terms of the recent donations. That is much appreciated. You're helping to keep the live streams alive, as it were. If you're interested in supporting the streams, there's options for PayPal, Buy Me a Coffee, and of course the super chats as well, little dollar icon. But if not, that's no problem at all. But also, just let you know, if you're interested in taking multiple screenshots, some call them postcards, then there's some details on how to do that in the description below. And also to let you know that if anyone's wondering, there is a community called Hey which is a platform that sadly closed in April of this year, which is where a lot of people know me, and that's how I got into these live tours in the first place. And so basically I should flip the camera around and get started, because we are in the Isle of Wight, specifically the town of Cowes, which is a great name for a town as well. But I thought what I'd do in terms of the format for this is basically give you my experience on my first time visiting the Isle of Wight as it happened here. So I started off in Southampton. I was standing in the docks of Southampton trying to get to Holland or France. The man in the Mac said you've got to go back, but that's another story. So I ended up here I went on a foot passenger ferry. Took me half an hour, and I landed here in Cowes. Hello, Shaquille, by the way. And so, yeah, welcome to the Isle of Wight. We're just getting started. So the ferry from Southampton took me here, and this is for foot passengers. There's also a passenger ferry for vehicles, so you can sort of see here. And there's also, as some of you may know, other options to get to the Isle of Wight. There's of course the famous hovercraft from Portsmouth, or technically South Sea, which I'll go to at some other point quite possibly. But to get to Cowes, you take the ferry from Southampton, and then you end up in this nice little sort of courtyard sort of area, and then you come up with this choice as to whether to go left or right. If you go right, you'll end up by the sea, and there's a beach area as well. We'll go that way, but first I'm going to take a quick left, because there's a great little high street here, a very sort of typically quirky high street, typical of harbour towns that you might see in places like Falmouth and one or two other towns that it's reminiscent of. And you can see some very quirky shops, some nice indie sort of shops as well, which is always nice to see. And of course we have these buntings, because you know a town means business when they've got the buntings out, especially in these patriotic red, white and blue colours as well. So lamb starting to position it, lambs with an E. Nice. Yeah, apparently Cowes, the name came about because back in Henry VIII's time or something, there were two sandbanks here that apparently resembled, well, literally cows. That's kind of the story anyway. So we're on the mouth of the River Medina, and we're on the west bank specifically in Cowes, and on the east bank is a town called, well, East Cowes, imaginatively enough. And I'll elaborate into that as we go. But as far as this Cowes goes, it's what we're seeing here. Bunting is so festive, absolutely. And so yeah, this will hopefully give you a flavour of the town centre before we have some nice sea views to end the tour upon. And so whilst we go to the end of the high street, I should probably give you some background as to how the Isle of Wight sort of came about, as it were, because it wasn't always an island. In fact, the isle is separated from the mainland by the Solent Strait. But once upon a time, the Solent was actually a river, but it was actually the last ice age that changed all that, and it became a strait. and rock and roll. Hello. And yeah, so for the last 8,000 years or so, it has been an island, and it's one that has a fair bit of history to boot as well. And of course, the Romans have a little something to do with that. They usually do, of course. There's been discoveries of a few Roman villas on the Isle of Wight here and there, because there was no keeping those Romans down. Even 2,000 years ago, they were leaving no stone unturned, as it were. So you have these Roman villas, and then of course the Romans abandoned the whole of Britain, as I'm sure a lot of you know. And then the Saxons came, and then there was of course the Vikings and what have you, and yeah, there were a few Viking raids, I believe. And then there's at one point when in 1012, Sweyn Forkbeard, the fierce Viking, he raided Britain in retaliation for the St. Brice's Day massacre, when Ethelred the Unready did a little bit of a genocide of the Danes, and Ethelred the Unready in 1012 hid on the Isle of Wight. That's my understanding of it. Of course, I wasn't there at the time, but it is indeed a nice street to kill. Yeah, it's right up my street, so to speak. And so yeah, I'm just going to turn back on myself as we head towards the ocean, sorry, the sea rather, I should say, or the strait. But in the meantime, maybe one or two window shopping opportunities, because there's some great, as I said, some great independent shops here. And there was one that I saw earlier that looked worth a little show. Also, it's a nice little, is bric-a-brac the right word? You've got the Monopoly Isle of Wight edition. Of course, the Mayfair is Osborne House, which is where Queen Victoria lived. I'll elaborate on that later. So that's that. And you've got the captain here. Some nice biscuits. And of course, a nice seagull. And yeah, and that's one of many shops like it. And now I believe, yeah, I saw this earlier. It's a guy with a YouTube channel, if I've got the right window. I think it's just around the corner. Oh yeah, here it is. So yeah, so I was exploring earlier and I found this here. So I don't know the guy at all, but it looks like he's got an interesting YouTube channel. What it is this is to do with the shipping forecast, which is a great institution on the radio. Makes for some confusing listening if you don't know, but it's basically this fella here appears to have visited all these little sections of the sea, and his YouTube channel is here. So if you want to give him a look, he's on about 400 or so subscribers, and as I say, I know the struggle with YouTube, but yeah, it looks like he's got some very interesting content. I just had a quick look, and what was I going to say? So yeah, why not check him out? In the meantime, and you can always rewind the video, come back to it later if you want the link again. So yeah, so he's not in competition with me. He's doing videos about the sea, whereas I'm more of a dry land kind of guy. Somewhat unimpressive, yeah. He's being self-deprecating there, but yeah. But yeah. So as I say, we're just going back on ourselves, and in the meantime, it gives us a chance to talk about one or two other things Isle of Wight related. Specifically in terms of Cowes, there are a couple of famous people from Cowes. I'm wondering if the chat knows what famous English actor was born in Cowes. I'll pause for a bit to see if anyone comes up with the answer. The English actor from Cowes. Also, if there are any 80s music fans in the chat, there is a certain band from, well, the Isle of Wight. Two brothers of whom were from Cowes, are from Cowes, I should say. And so it's, so yeah, if there are any 80s music fans, anyone know a band from Cowes or an actor from Cowes? I'll leave it a few seconds and see if anyone gets it. Is anyone? In the meantime, yeah, it's a nice chilled out evening here. It's absolutely. There's this nice little ornament here, which I rather like. It's sort of minimalistic, but it kind of does the job. I like that. Jude Law. I don't honestly know where Jude Law's from, but all right. Well, the answer was Jeremy Irons is from Cowes. Oh, Cynthia said it on. Maybe Cynthia beat me. So yeah, Jeremy Irons is the famous actor from this very town. Well, of course, he grew up in Sherborne in Dorset, a beautiful town. I'll have to get to there at some point. But yeah, he was born here, and the 80s band, or mostly 80s band from the Isle of Wight, is Level 42. And I believe they had a few hits in America as well. I think Something About You was a fairly big hit, and there's Lessons in Love, and what was the other one? Running in the Family. So just give you a bit of background on the geography of the Isle of Wight, where, of course, where we are now is the north coast. It's sort of like a diamond shape. We're on the top point of the diamond that's sort of more wide than it is long, if that makes sense. Laurie O'Brien Yeovil. Oh, nice. Dawn's a fan of Level 42, yeah. Yeah, good old band. So what was I saying? Yeah, so the geography is such that, so we're on the, as I say, the mouth of the River Medina. If you go upstream, as in south, you get to the town of Newport, not to be confused with the Newport in South Wales, although there are multiple Newports in Wales, but that's another story. But yeah, so Newport is the biggest town in the island, with a population, according to the latest census, of about 25,000. The second biggest is Ryde, it's R-Y-D-E, with about 24,000. And Cowes, I believe, is the third biggest with 14,000. And the island itself has a population of about 140,000, but if anyone's interested in those figures. So yeah, and what's that dog doing its business there? Yeah, just ignore the dog doing that, but okay, finished. Yeah, what was I saying again? Yeah, so south of here is Newport, and that is effectively well, quite literally the hub of the island. It's the county town, and it's sort of in the centre, and it's one of only two towns that are inland in the island. There are 9 towns in total in the island. The other inland town is one called Brading, but all the others, including cows, are on the coast. And okay, someone's going to an ambulance. I'll just keep the camera this way for a bit. So, which means, what does it mean again? Oh, the dog, yeah. But yeah, in terms of what the Isle of Wight is famous for, basically, I would say one of its biggest claims to fame was a certain festival, which started in 1968. A music festival, of course. And in '68, the headline act was Jefferson Airplane, if I'm not mistaken. And there was an attendance of about 10,000 in 1968, and in the following year, in '69, Bob Dylan and the band performed. That attracted about 40,000. And yeah, I'm just reading about what the dog did there. But yeah, so that was in '69, and then of course in 1970 there was an even bigger Isle of Wight festival, headlined by the Jimi Hendrix Experience, and that, according to accounts, saw attendance of between 600 and 700,000, which is absolutely massive when you think about it. And if anyone in chat was there for that, do let me know his age, but being that Jimi Hendrix sadly passed away just about 2 or 3 weeks after that performance. Notting Hill. Stopping for you here. And funnily enough, in 1971, there was an Act of Parliament that passed that prohibited outdoor gatherings in the Isle of Wight for figures of over 5,000, so which all but killed the Isle of Wight festival. At least it did, up until the year 2002 when it got revived. Although between that interim period, the displaced hippies, if you will, found a new home in a certain town in Somerset, that being Glastonbury, of course. But yeah, both Glastonbury and Isle of Wight festivals are back in action these days. And this here, if you're wondering, is one of the many ferries that you see passing through the Solent Strait. This one is one of the car ferries that went from Southampton, and it's heading to East Cowes, the town that's across the river from this one. And so I can just give you a little flavour of what it is over this way. So, as I say, it's Cowes on the west bank of the Medina and East Cowes on the east bank. And I was in East Cowes earlier, and in short, it's kind of like what Gateshead is to Newcastle, or what Birkenhead is to Liverpool, but about 10 times more so, in the sense that it's kind of a throwaway town, if you like, really. It's not much to it, although there is one very particular claim to fame of East Cowes, and that is Osborne House. And that was Queen Victoria's summer residence, and it is where she passed away in 1901 with multiple family members at her side. And yeah, so the story goes that she bought it in, I believe, in 1845 and did it up. It's an absolutely massive mansion, palace, whatever you want to call it. It's not in the town centre, it's a bit out of the way of course, but it is somewhere on the horizon as you're looking at it now. And Osborne House was sort of Queen Victoria's, I think it's fair to say, her favoured summer residence. And Cheryl, hey there, hoping to visit next year. Oh, nice. So yeah, we've been going for about 20 minutes. So yeah, so just talking about East Cowes over there. So somewhere over in the horizon is Osborne House, where Queen Victoria used to live. And yeah, great big massive house, mansion, palace thing. And it was kind of she didn't sort of get along with the Royal Pavilion in Brighton, which is what George IV, well, that was his sort of favoured residence, because he had those infamous tunnels leading to his mistresses or something along those lines. But I think Queen Victoria wasn't as keen on Brighton as a whole. It was a bit too public for her, maybe. And of course, here on the island, it is a bit more secluded, as you can imagine. And this right here is the ferry that I came on, or it's one of the like-for-like ones. Dawn, you're a young child when you visited. Oh, nice. Yeah, so this is Red Jet. This is for foot passengers, and this is the one that takes you here from Southampton in 30 minutes. And so yeah, so it's so it goes that way. And so, hello Dawny, by the way. And also there's an interesting side note on the Osborne House story, because in 1878, when it comes to dates, I sometimes have to check the notes, but 1878 I think it was, when it was Alexander Graham Bell. He did a demonstration of his invention, the telephone, in Osborne House, and he called a takeaway. No, not really. He called somewhere on the mainland and demonstrated that the process worked, and to which Queen Victoria said, and I quote, she described it as quite extraordinary, although the sound was rather faint. Those were her words, apparently. Was the bustle services like over there? Sorry, bustle train services, Shell. Well, the bus services are good. The train services, they only serve the eastern towns, so they're good for Ryde, Shanklin, Sandown, and Brading. Other than that, you basically have to take the bus. So, for instance, when you get into Cowes, there's a bus stop just about 3 minutes away from where the ferry comes. From there, you can get a bus into Newport, which is about 20 minutes or so, and then you can get a bus from pretty much anywhere from there. So, yeah, public transport could be better, but it's part of the charm of visiting these sort of more isolated places, at least for me, anyway. So. Yeah, so we now have a nice little stroll along the strait, as it were, and which gives me a chance to talk about one or two other things. Notably, in addition to Queen Victoria, there have been a number of very famous writers who have visited the Isle of Wight through the centuries. Perhaps the most famous being Charles Dickens. He visited on a couple of occasions. In 1849, he visited, I believe, in Ventnor on the south coast of the island, and it was there that apparently he wrote part of David Copperfield, and he based one of the characters on a local from the Isle of Wight, I believe Mr. Dick, if I'm not mistaken. Great name. And so yeah, of course, I believe he also wrote part of it in Broadstairs in Kent, I believe. Both of those can be true. And so yeah, so writers do get about a lot, or they certainly did back in those days. Another one, of course, being Lord Tennyson. Alfred Lord Tennyson, he stayed on certain occasions, and in the 1850s he wrote the Charge of the Light Brigade whilst on the Isle of Wight. It was the old there's not to reason why, there's but to do or die. Yeah, so very poignant poem about the Battle of Balaclava from those times in the 1850s. But I believe J.B. Priestley might have stayed here as well, the Inspector Calls guide. And now we're going to our nice little quirk. We've got some miniature cannons, and there's a little inscription here. Which months are the sunniest? I don't know, I just assume summer months. But I had to memorise the poem, yeah. But yeah, so these, I believe, are to do with the regatta that takes place here. It's home to the largest yachting event, is Cowes, and these are sort of miniature cannons. I believe 25 of them, and it's a big location for yachting right here on the Solent Strait. Yeah, as cute as cannons can be, I suppose, yeah. And also, if you're wondering what's on the horizon, there's the Forley power station over there. Southampton itself is sort of through that stretch of water there. It's a bit sort of out of the way. And over this way, there is a bit of a mist since I was here earlier, but you have to trust me that if you look over this way, you can see the Spinnaker Tower, which is, of course, in Portsmouth. Marlene, hello. Yeah, welcome to the Isle of Wight. We're just, we've just still got a bit of the tour left to go. So, yeah, so I'm just saying that on clearer conditions, you can see the Spinnaker Tower of Portsmouth, roughly where my finger is there, and which is kind of cool. And of course, you can get to the Isle of Wight from Portsmouth. Of course, there is the famous hovercraft, which I shall almost certainly do at one point. So it goes from Southsea in Portsmouth to the town of Ryde, spelled R-Y-D-E. And I'm telling you now, if I ever do a stream of Ryde, I shall be titling it Ticket to Ryde, because honestly, what else is there to title a stream like that? But yeah, so like I say, I've been to 4 out of the 9 towns of the Isle of Wight today, and there are 5 remaining. So that opens up possibilities for possibly the spring of next year. We'll see how things go. And oh, Cynthia, come on, that's a brilliant one. Oh, you love it, really? Come on. But yeah, so yeah, what else? Oh, what was I going to say about the Isle of Wight? So there are some historic buildings. Some of you may know there are a few castles. There's Yarmouth Castle, which is in the town of Yarmouth in the western end of the island, not to be confused with Great Yarmouth in Norfolk, which is way bigger. But can the public visit Osborne House? Laurel, I'm not actually sure. Possibly, I didn't look into it though. That's a good question. If anyone knows, they can they? That's good. And so yeah, so Osborne House being on East Cowes, and then, but yeah, so Yarmouth, by the way, is a beautiful town, very historic, and rather small in an endearing sort of way. And there's a little pier there as well. And then, of course, there's Newport, the county town, which is nice. It's got its harbour there. And then, like I say, East Cowes was the town centre itself was nothing special. But then, of course, then you take the floating bridge to Cowes, which is where we are now, which is well, as we can see here, odd spot for a line. Oh yeah, the line. It's, I'll give it a proper look here. He's just watching over the strait there. There's a handsome chap. The population of the Isle of Wight is, I believe, about 140,000. And by the way, that makes it the second biggest island in England in terms of population. The biggest island in England in terms of population is actually the one on the horizon, which is Portsea Island. Because Portsmouth is technically on an island, it's not often thought of that way because the body of water separating from the mainland is very thin. There's pretty much a road bridge going over it, but yeah, so technically Portsea Island, where Portsmouth is the largest island by population in England, but this is the largest island by area in England. And it's actually I've heard an interesting fact that it's sort of like the joint smallest county in England alongside Rutland, although it fluctuates as to which is bigger or smaller depending on the tide. Which is again, nice little random fact for you. And there, which is quite striking. And yeah, as mentioned, this is the final county in England that I've visited and filmed in, which means I've got some videos on the sister channel, Alex in Great Britain, county town that I've still not filmed yet, and that is Warwick. So I'll need to fix that at some point in the near future. So there may be a stream of Warwick at some point. We'll see how things pan out, but there may also be a stream of Buckingham, as in Buckingham the town rather than the palace. So just so you know, if I want to see things on the pipeline there. Now, I believe I've actually just gone past the church, so bear with me there. See, alright, greeting from remaining, hello. So, yeah, as I just backtrack to find that church that I walked straight past. Oh, can I do a tour in the Isle of Man in the future? That's somewhere I'd love to do, yes. Yeah, that'll be in the pipeline at some point in all those places. But yeah, Marlene's in Halifax, Nova Scotia. We've got a Halifax here. I think ours is the original. There's some great Victorian architecture in our Halifax, we'll say. And yeah, these are probably worth a fair few. Nice sea views indeed. The estate agent's got an easy job, I think, selling those. In Yorkshire, yeah, it's well, West Yorkshire is Halifax. Yeah, it's in the Calderdale area, near the Happy Valley, if anyone's interested. And Oh, I found the church I was looking for. There we are. So yeah, so normally I talk about various buildings in the town when I do these tours, but in this case it seemed surplus to requirement to talk about so many of them. A lot of them are a nice array of Georgian buildings in the town centre there, but this one just coming up is a rather striking one, and this is early Victorian. No, it's it's just before the Victorian. I'll just go around this way for a view at the Yorkshire House. And yeah. Oh, Diane, how? Oh, thank you. Oh, thanks very much. Greg, am I heading off to the Crown Islands in time? In terms of like the Crown dependencies, I mean, I would, yeah, I'd love to at some point. It just means a bit of planning. Yeah, just head back to the Esplanade, and I'll schedule this for 45 minutes so we can close out on some shots of the strait. If the signal holds, I'll just keep an eye on the kilobits per second. I'm back, thanks for letting me know. Yeah, so I'll just keep one eye on that. So yeah, so what else is there to say about the Isle of Wight? So yeah, like I say, it's famous for its festival, for Jeremy Irons, for Level 42, for Queen Victoria, and for Lord Tennyson and Charles Dickens and J.B. Priestley and such, and I think even Charles Darwin visited at some point. Oh, the church was built in 1832, so about 5 years before Victoria became Queen. And yeah, so if you're planning a visit, if you want to see cows, like I've shown you in the virtual sense here, the idea is to go to Southampton, because there's no commercial airport in the Isle of Wight. That's one thing worth noting. So you have to go by boat essentially. So to get to Cowes, you go to Southampton and then get either a car ferry or a foot passenger ferry, and it takes 30 minutes on the foot passenger ferry and about an hour on the car ferry. And oh yeah, Cowes Week, is that to do with the yachting, I believe. Yeah, because they're very big into the yachts here and such. So but yeah, of course, if you want to see the other side of the Isle of Wight, so you'd likely go via Portsmouth to Ryde, or I think there's one that goes to Fishbourne as well, but you have that. Also, you could also go, must be good seafood on the Isle of Wight. I mean, it smells like it, yeah. I've not had a chance to dine out here, but yeah, it smells like good seafood. Yeah, so this town is called, yeah, Cowes, just like Cowes, and because apparently the sand banks look like the shape of a couple of cows, so they said in the Tudor times or something like that. So yeah, there's also, I mentioned the town called Yarmouth on the western end of the island, which is a beautiful town, a bit small but very, very pretty, and you can get there via the town of Lymington in the western part of Hampshire. Again, a beautiful town, which is another option, and that's sort of near, but sort of, if you're in sort of like the Bournemouth kind of area, if you're in the southwest, that would be a good way into the Isle of Wight there. And Marlene, you have a Yarmouth on the western tip of was that Nova Scotia? Ah, nice. Yeah, I love it when when names repeat in North America, because yeah. Speaking of which, I recently uploaded a video of the town called Witney in Oxfordshire. Some of you may have noticed Whitney spelled W-I-T-N-E-Y. Someone commented on the name and they liked the name of Whitney, to which I pointed out that maybe they should have twinned it with Houston in Texas. And I just thought I'd share that little sort of pseudo dad joke with you there. But yeah, we miss Whitney Houston, of course. But well, I mean, it's well connected in terms of the ferry access. Just not so great if you want to fly, because as I know, commercial airports, and the trains only go down the eastern side of the island. But plenty of buses. And yeah, and thanks for all the kind words. And just see if we can get a nice closing shot as the sun is going down. I can see if we can give you something a bit more dramatic to close on. How much would be sufficient for a good weekend on the Isle of Wight? That is probably not something I'd be able to give a good answer on, to be fair. But yeah, because I can't really comment on sort of nightlife and such, so I'll be honest. But yeah, and it's interesting. This if you like the seaside towns without the arcades and the tuppenny nudgers and the claw grabbers and what have you, then this is somewhere you might enjoy, because those can be a bit hit and miss. Some love them, some don't. But yeah, this is one of those dare I say it, more upmarket seaside towns, if you will. I'd love to go to Jersey, but yeah, in due course I'll look into my options there. But yeah, I do still need to, like I say, go to Warwick, so that might be a stream coming up, and also Buckingham, and then I'll have to think about something to do over the Christmas period as well. But we'll cross that bridge and so forth. And to Guernsey, yeah, St Peter Port, yes, somewhere I'd love to go to. Again, fascinating history, a bit poignant as well with the what happened during the Second World War. Oh, the Jersey cows, yeah, and the Jersey Royals as well. They've got some great produce there. Yeah, so as I say, I'll look into train and coach tickets and see what deals come up, and after which point I can get something in for what I've mentioned there. And yeah, it's just quite a nice quiet spot. Not been to the Isle of Man yet, no, but I would love to. I'm quite fascinated by the TT, although I'd probably be better off going not during the TT, because it'll be a bit hectic, I'd imagine, at that time. But yeah, there's a train strike on this coming Saturday, and I believe the 4th of October as well, something like that. So yeah, it's a bit of a pain. You always have to work around the rail strikes. The best way to do that is just to use the coach and the bus as much as you can, but because coach and bus drivers, they are a credit to country. They just get on with things. Yeah, yeah, I'll have to get to as many islands as I can. Of course, it's just one thing at a time, what with the ferries and so forth. But yeah, it was fascinating to see when I was in Inverness. I've not put on the channel yet, but that may be the Saturday video. In Inverness, they had buses that go straight to Portree and the Isle of Skye, and I was so tempted to just jump on a bus to Portree, but then I would have missed my coach back home. But they, oh, was a bus strike, was there? Oh gosh. You had to take the bus from Wales to Cornwall. Yeah, that's a bit of a... Ooh, gosh, yeah. Am I sponsored by the coach company? No, but perhaps I should be, because I could do some good business for them, maybe. Who knows? Yeah. Well, what shall we... Oh, that's... okay, there. So, just looking for the perfect shot to close it on. The Shetlands again, that would be somewhere I would love to go. And the Orkneys. And the Isle of Lewis. Never been dark in my watch to kill. Well, when I was on the platform that I mentioned called Hago, it was often the case that I would schedule the walks to coincide with the sunset, and a lot of guys did that as well. So, oh, Marlene, thank you, I appreciate that. Thank you. Enjoyed seeing the island again. Oh, that's good to hear, Dawn. Thank you. Yeah. To be honest, I'm just savouring the atmosphere myself. It's as I say, I live in London. It's rare to get this peace and quiet, which is a nice little bonus. So, with that all said, I'll just see if there's one more last perfect view to close it on. Shetland's near good weather. Well, yeah, I imagine. You love to sit where I'm now and have a good supper. Ah, well. There we go. Yeah. Yeah. I'll be honest, I've got a bit of time to kill, because there aren't too many coaches back from Southampton. So the next coach back from Southampton is at 3:30 in the morning. But that gives me a chance to just be a bit sort of zen-like in the meantime. And it's more quiet than Blackpool. Yeah, that's probably true. But yeah, so thanks for keeping me company on this very pleasant evening here in the Isle of Wight. Been a great day for me. Great spot to zen out. Yeah, absolutely. All right, so okay, I think we can call it a day. I'll just watch this passing boat here, and again, so thank you all, and yeah, so like I say, I'll see you when I see you. So you can always check back on the channel and the sister channel, Alex in Great Britain. There's always a link in the description for that, and yeah, excited to see where we can go from there. Yeah, this might be safer than Blackpool. I couldn't say for sure, but yeah, so I'll just flip the camera. Say thank you for excuse me. So thank you for coming with me virtually to the Isle of Wight here in the beautiful town of Cowes, and I'll see you when I see you. Hope you have a fantastic evening or morning or afternoon, whichever applies. As my voice keeps cracking, and yes, I shall see you around, and all the very best, and I'll flip the camera and say it's goodbye from me, so take care.